This year, there have been 27 school shootings in America.
Nowhere else do little kids go to school thinking that they might be shot that day.
You sit there and claim you're doing that for us? Why are you trying to get recognition off of kids and teachers that have died?
In the history of American society, few tragedies have left as lasting a mark as school shootings. These horrific acts of violence have devastated families and communities while sparking national debates on gun control, mental health, school security, and the reasons individuals commit such acts. This documentary takes a deep look at school shootings, examining those who carried them out, the societal conditions that may have played a role, and the lasting impact on the nation. By examining these tragic events in detail, we aim to provide a complete understanding of their evolution, from rare occurrences in the past to the modern era of mass shootings. Though many think of school shootings as a recent problem, history tells a different story. The earliest known incidents date back to the 19th century when schools were seen as places of learning and safety. One of the first documented school shootings in America happened in 1840, when a law student shot and killed his professor at the University of Virginia. Unlike modern mass shootings, this was a targeted attack driven by personal grievances. Throughout the late 19th and early 20th centuries, school-related violence, though uncommon, often resulted from disputes, personal revenge, or domestic conflicts, spilling into the classroom. By the 20th century, school shootings remained rare but were becoming more concerning. In 1927, the Bath School disaster in Michigan became the deadliest school attack in U.S. history. Andrew Kehoe, a former school board member, planned and carried out a bombing that killed 38 children and 6 adults. Though not a shooting, this act showed how individuals with grievances and access to deadly means could cause mass destruction in schools. Kehoe's actions were not spontaneous, but the result of careful planning, a pattern that would become common in later school attacks. Survivors and witnesses recalled the horror as rescue workers searched through the rubble for survivors. This early act of mass violence in a school setting foreshadowed the devastating potential of future attacks.
Columbine High in Littleton, Colorado, it has been a horror.
The modern era of school shootings is often linked to the tragic events of April 20th, 1999, at Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, 2 students with a history of mental distress and violent thoughts, planned and carried out an attack that left 13 people dead and 24 others wounded. Their use of firearms, homemade bombs, and their willingness to die in the act set a terrifying example for future school shooters. Columbine was particularly disturbing because of the level of planning involved. Harris and Klebold recorded videos, wrote journals, and expressed their desire to cause destruction. Their attack was not an act of sudden rage, but a carefully planned mission. The intense media coverage of the attack turned Harris and Klebold into infamous figures. Many later school shooters mentioned Columbine as a source of inspiration, showing the dangers of media sensationalism and the risk of copycat attacks. The police response to Columbine also changed how law enforcement handles mass shootings. Before Columbine, officers were trained to secure the area and wait for special units. This method failed as Harris and Klebold continued their attack without opposition. Afterward, police departments nationwide changed their approach, emphasizing immediate action to confront active shooters and reduce casualties.
The Department of Education came down hard on Virginia Tech today for the way it handled the 2007 shooting rampage.
And our teacher, she opened the door and she peered outside and she immediately shut the door and she said, "Call 911.
On April 16, 2007, Sung-Hui Cho, a student at Virginia Tech, carried out the deadliest school shooting in U.S. history, killing 32 people before taking his own life. Cho had a long history of severe mental health struggles, including social isolation and depression. Despite previous warnings from professors and mental health professionals, he was still able to legally purchase firearms, exposing serious gaps in mental health intervention and gun laws. Cho's attack was carefully planned, involving 2 separate shootings hours apart. He left behind a manifesto, sent to media outlets before the attack, that revealed his disturbing mindset. He saw himself as an avenger against perceived injustices, a common theme among school shooters who often feel alienated from society. His case emphasized the need for improved mental health services, early intervention, and stricter firearm regulations to prevent individuals with violent tendencies from gaining access to weapons. The victims of the Virginia Tech shooting included students and faculty members who had dedicated their lives to education. Many were killed while attempting to protect their classmates or while trying to escape. Survivors of the attack, along with the families of those lost, became vocal advocates for mental health reform and gun control. They pushed for better reporting systems to prevent individuals with a history of severe mental illness from purchasing firearms. The tragedy left a lasting impact on college campuses across the country, leading to increased security measures and changes in emergency response strategies.
We're continuing our breaking news coverage of a dramatic, horrific story, unfortunately unfolding in Connecticut right now. In Newton, Connecticut, at a small elementary school, the Sandy Hook Elementary School. For those of you who are just turning in, we are now getting numbers. Our own John King reporting, quoting law enforcement sources as saying at least 20, but perhaps closer to 30 individuals, many of them children, have been killed.
Few school shootings have shaken the American public as deeply as the Sandy Hook Elementary School attack on December 14, 2012. Adam Lanza, a 20-year-old with a history of mental illness, entered the school in Newtown, Connecticut, and killed 20 young children and 6 educators before taking his own life. Before the attack, he also killed his mother at home. The brutality of this crime, targeting some of the youngest members of society, left the nation in mourning. Investigations into Lanza's background showed a troubled individual who had withdrawn from society and had easy access to high-powered firearms. The tragedy reignited debates on gun control, leading to new efforts to pass laws restricting military-style assault weapons. Despite widespread outrage, little significant change in gun laws was made at the federal level, showing the deep political divide over the issue. The loss of so many innocent children and dedicated educators led to an outpouring of grief across the country. Families of the victims established foundations in honor of their loved ones, advocating for stricter gun laws and improved mental health services. Many of them continue to speak out, ensuring that the memory of their children fuels meaningful conversations about school safety. Schools across the nation reevaluated their security measures, introducing new lockdown procedures and enhancing building security to prevent future attacks.
He started to take the bullets and load in the gun. I froze. He then said to me, "Get out of here."
On February 14, 2018, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, became the site of another tragic school shooting. Nicholas Cruz, a former student with a history of behavioral problems and mental health concerns, killed 17 people and injured 17 others. Unlike previous incidents, this tragedy led to a wave of youth-led activism, with survivors becoming outspoken advocates for gun reform. Cruz had exhibited warning signs for years, including violent behavior and threats against classmates. Despite these red flags, he was able to legally purchase firearms. The failure to intervene before the attack sparked outrage, with many questioning the role of law enforcement, school officials, and mental health services in preventing such incidents. Reports later revealed that numerous warnings about Cruz had been ignored by authorities, raising concerns about gaps in the system that allowed him to carry out his attack. The students of Stoneman Douglas turned their grief into action, organizing the March for Our Lives movement and pressuring lawmakers to pass stricter gun control measures. Their activism showed the power of youth in shaping public policy and demonstrated how tragedy could inspire social change. Survivors of the shooting became household names as they toured the country advocating for policy changes, speaking at rallies and confronting lawmakers. School shootings remain one of the most troubling issues in American society. They leave behind shattered families, devastated communities, and a nation grappling with how to prevent future tragedies. While changes in laws, security, and mental health awareness have been made, the issue remains unresolved. Each new incident reignites debates, yet real solutions remain elusive. The hope is that by understanding these tragedies, Society can work toward preventing future attacks. It's a painful reminder that there's still work to be done. But by facing this challenge together, we might yet find the answers to heal and protect. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay informed.